Hello everyone, welcome to another learning session. This is Hatin Ganagatotu, and we will be continuing our discussions about Azure bots. In session 1, we covered the whole of part 1 Azure bots fundamentals, which included what is Azure bots, why use Azure bots, default process models in Azure bots such as basic, agile, scrum and CMMI, key work items in Azure bots belonging to these process models. Part 2 is a combination of theory plus practicals. We covered the topics related to 2 labs and saw the steps for those 2 labs. 1, managing teams, areas and iterations. We also created a team called Cloud Rigs. And we also renamed the default iteration names from iteration 1, iteration 2, iteration 3 to sprint 1, sprint 2 and sprint 3. Then we saw how to manage work items. Work items were one of the most important topics from part 1 Azure Bots Fundamentals. In today's session, we will go through the labs for the remaining topics: managing sprints and capacity, customizing Kanban boards, customizing process models, creating and customizing dashboards. If you are watching this as a recording, and if you have recording of the first one along with the lab documents, please pause, go there, watch, and then do the lab, and then come back and then continue. Doing the lab is very important for understanding things, and always try to get the latest lab documents and then do. Every time I take a session, I might get questions from people, and if I feel like, okay, this document has to be improved, I continuously improve it and then upload it to harden.cc, as well as I will share with the community champions or community group coordinators so that they can share in their respective communities. Managing sprints and capacity with Azure bots. We had learned about Scrum, sprints, Agile and all from Agile, Lean and DevOps session. You may have attended it as a single session, or it was also taken as 3 parts. First part was about Agile, second part was about Lean, and third part was about Agile and Lean best practices for a DevOps journey. Quick recap of some of the important concepts. Scrum is an agile framework that recommends completing work in iterations called as sprints. So you may have a sprint of 1 week or 2 week or 3 week or 4 week. The most common I have seen is 2 weeks. So you will pick up tasks that can be completed in those 2 weeks. So managing capacity is important. So you need to make sure you pick up only work that can be completed. There may be spillovers, meaning tasks that is not completed. But in general, you need to plan for completing all the tasks that you pick up for a sprint within that sprint itself. And that is possible through proper planning based on available capacity. Scrum recommends a few meetings, including sprint planning meeting, daily stand-up meetings, review meeting, sprint retrospective meeting, etc. As part of planning, typically held on the first day of the sprint, we will decide on the work items that can be completed in that sprint based on available capacity. It may be done in 2 steps. First, you will approximately pick up tasks along with a product owner. And then in the second round, you will actually sit with the development team and analyze how much effort is actually required and whether you will be able to pick up all those tasks or not. And if you feel like, okay, based on available capacity and based on effort estimation, if some of the tasks are not possible, then you will pick up the tasks with more priority. Today, our focus is on what all features does Azure Bots provide us to manage this sprint and capacity in a visual way. Few important things when you work with Azure Bots. We can use the work details panel in Azure Bots to check the team's capacity. After we have defined all tasks, we can consider adding more items into sprint if our team is under capacity. If over capacity, we can remove items out of the backlog. So your Azure bots will give a visual representation of where we stand. Are we over capacity or are we under capacity? Work panel can be enabled by selecting view option symbol in the top right. In the view options drop down list, select the work details entry. We will see that in the lab, don't worry. We can easily update key data inline. It's a good practice to regularly update the remaining work estimate to reflect the amount of time expected for each task. So if you regularly go to your work items and update the remaining capacity, then this work details panel will give you more accurate information. If capacity available in a sprint is enough to handle tasks, it will be green. But if the capacity available in a sprint is not enough, then it will be red. One way to resolve this capacity issue would be to move tasks to a future iteration or a future sprint. There are a few ways to do this. You may open the task here in the panel and edit it, providing access to the task details. You may also use the backlog view, which provides an inline menu option to move it. We will see some of this in the lab and then you can play around with it more. Lab 1C, Agile Planning and Portfolio Management with Azure Boards, Managing Sprints and Capacity. Let us quickly go through the lab document. The document version is 3. Please make sure you get the latest document and then do the lab based on that. You can check in your respective community groups in Facebook or in WhatsApp group or in community.cloudrisk.com, which is an ad-free version of Facebook and WhatsApp in a combo form. In this lab, parts A to F, we will learn about agile planning and portfolio management tools and processes provided by Azure Boards and how they can help us plan, manage, and track work for our teams. We will explore the product backlog, sprint backlog, and task boards that can track the flow of work during an iteration. In our case, we are calling the iteration as a sprint. We'll also look at customizing various features within the Azure Boards. In part A, we used Azure DevOps generator utility to automate the process of creating a new Azure DevOps project that is pre-populated with content. We then worked with the project, teams, iterations or sprints and areas. In part B of the lab, we learned to manage work items. In part C of the lab, the current one, we will learn about managing sprints and capacity. So what is the prerequisite? Complete the lab titled Lab 1B, Agile Planning and Portfolio Management with Azure Boards, manage work items. Method. Go to dev.azure.com, select your organization if you have more organizations, and go inside our project, TS Tailwind Traders Demo. Expand boards and click on sprints. If you have more sprints, then select the one you need. This is the one we had created and we were working on in the previous labs. On the top right, select a view option symbol. It is marked here. And in the drop down, select work details entry. And when you click on work details, the work details pane will appear. But in this pane, there is no data. Why? If the work details tab is empty like above, go inside AZ400 module 1 lab session task or any task that is not closed and update remaining time under the efforts or hours as 5. This is because we had closed the task which has a remaining time set. In case you miss closing the task, good, you will see work details panel with the data. For an unassigned task, click unassigned and then from the list of user accounts, select our account to assign the task to ourselves. 5. Select the capacity tab of the sprints view. On the capacity tab, directly under the activity label in the unassigned drop-down list, select development. And the capacity per day text box, type 1. This represents 1 hour of development work per day. Directly next to the entry representing our user account, the days of column, click the 0 days entry. This will display a panel where you can set your days off. In the displayed panel, use calendar view to set your vacation to span 5 working days during the current sprint. And once completed, click OK. Please note that if dates are not within the current sprint, you will get an error. So if there is no error and if it is within that sprint, then click OK and then save. So we have set 5 days. Your work details pane should somehow look like this. The exact numbers may change depending on when you generated this project using Azure DevOps Generator, and also based on when you did part A and part B of this lab. Here, 13 hours is the total capacity for the sprint, calculated as 1 hour per day minus 5 days off. Exact numbers may differ. Do the following. Change the remaining time of a task for module 1 lab session that is assigned to our user to total capacity 13. If it is a different number, enter your total capacity. Change the remaining capacity of module 1 quiz session, which is unassigned, to 5. As you can see, so for the development activity, it is green, but the unassigned is also 5, which means the total team capacity is exceeding, and hence it is red now. For our assigned user, which is Hart and Jacob in this case, it is again only 13. Select the view options symbol directly left to the funnel icon, and the view options drop down list select people entry, so that you can see the tasks assigned to each person and also the hours. Select the activity for AZ400 module 1 lab session task to development. So you can go inside the module 1 lab session task, and in the activity dropdown, select development. Click on the settings icon directly right to the funnel icon. This one. You should get a panel like below, and you can do a lot of customization there. Click on styles and then styling rule, and then create a rule as below to make the card color green if activity is development. So tasks with activity set as development will now be shown in green. Go back to the settings panel by clicking on the settings icon directly to the right of the funnel icon on the right side, and do the following. Select and explore backlogs tab. Entries on this tab allow you to set the levels available for navigation. Epics are not included by default, but you can change that. Select and explore the working days tab. By default, Saturday may not be selected. Similarly, you can also select and explore the working with bugs tab. So set your team's preference for how they manage bugs. Your selection determines where bugs appear in the hierarchy and on backlogs and on boards. There are 3 options. Bugs are managed with the requirements, bugs are managed with tasks, bugs are not managed on backlogs and boards. Entries on this tab allow you to specify how bugs are presented on the board. The lab is over. So do practice using the latest version of the document. I can see there are still some mistakes here and there, which I'll be correcting and updating it as part of a new document. So let us go back to the presentation and continue with the next topic. Next topic is customizing Kanban boards with Azure boards. To maximize a team's ability to consistently deliver high quality software, Kanban emphasizes 2 main practices. The first, visualizing the flow of work through stages using a Kanban board. 2, constraining the amount of work in progress with WAP limits. The theory for this we had seen in detail as part of Agile, Lean, and DevOps session. We can track progress on our Kanban board and monitor key metrics to reduce lead and cycle times. As work progresses from idea to completion, we can update the items on the board. Each column represents a work stage, and each card represents a user story or a bug at that stage of the work. We have seen this in previous labs also, right? In general, every team develops its own processes over time. So the ability to customize the Kanban board to match the way our team works is critical for the successful delivery of projects. That is the primary reason why we are going to do this lab and customize Kanban boards. And when the need comes, we can customize Kanban boards in Azure boards according to our needs. About the settings panel for configuring Kanban board, we will see this in detail in the lab. From the boards panel, we can use the configure team settings clock wheel icon directly to the right of funnel icon to go to the settings panel. We can configure to highlight specific tags in tag colors tab. We can specify which annotations we would like to include on cards to make them easier to read and navigate in the annotations tab. We can also configure how tests appear and behave on the cards in the tests tab. The columns tab allow you to add new stages to the workflow and set WIP limit for existing stages. A lag often exists between when the work gets moved into a column and when work actually gets started. To counter that lag and reveal the actual state of work in progress, you can turn on split columns feature. When this feature is enabled, each column contains two subcolumns, doing and done. Split columns let the teams implement a pull model. Without split columns, teams push work forward to signal they have completed their stage. However, pushing it to the next stage doesn't mean the next team immediately starts working on them. For example, we have a development team and a QA team. Development team may finish development and they push to the QA column. But without these two columns, there is no way to know whether QA has actually started working on it or not. About swim lanes, Kanban board in Azure boards help visualize the flow of work as it moves from new to done. With swim lanes, we can visualize the status of work with different service classes. For example, an emergency lane for tracking emergency changes separately on the same board. So we can have different paths here, one for normal, one for emergency, and so on. Let us go and see the lab document. Let us quickly go through the lab, customizing Kanban boards. In this part of the lab, we will learn about customizing Kanban boards. Prerequisites will be to do lab 1C and all labs before that. Method, go to dev.azure.com, select our organization if we have more than one organization, and go inside our project, TS Tailwind Traders Demo, expand boards and click on boards. Make sure stories are selected. So you should see a similar screen with the stories selected. On the boards panel, click on configure team settings cogwheel icon marked here, right of the funnel icon. You will see a panel similar to below. On settings panel, select tag colors and click tag color. In the tag text box, type module and leave the default color in place. Do not click save and close now. We can click save and close after steps 5 and 6. On settings panel, explore the annotations tab. We can specify which annotations you would like to be included on cards to make them easier to read and navigate. When an annotation is enabled, the child work items of that type are easily accessible by clicking the visualization on each card. In the settings panel, explore the tests tab. Under tests, we have a few different options. Configure how you want the test to appear and behavior on the card. You can have manual test plans. You can configure test outcome settings. After that, you can click save and close and go back to the boards panel and then open the story for module 1. And then click on this add tag and add a tag called module and then click save and close. We should now see the tag highlighted in yellow in the board. Go back to the settings panel again, go to the columns tab and click on active tab. So click on plus column and add a new column called verified. Set the work in progress limit as 1 and drag it towards the right of resolved. Click on save and close. Please note that we can also change the WP limit of existing columns. The boards panel, drag any two work items to verified column. You can see that we have more work items than the WP limit. So it will be shown in red. Go back to the settings panel again. Go to the columns tab this time and click on verify tab and select split column into doing and done. And also add a definition of done, and then you click save and close. So if you go back to the boards, you may have to refresh. Now you can see that under verified, you have two columns, two sub columns, doing and done. By default, things are added to doing. You can also click the information symbol, I symbol next to this verified to see the definition of done you had given. Now go back to your settings panel and click on swim lanes. Click on plus swim lane to create a new swim lane. Give a name as emergency lane and click save and close. When you are back at boards panel and refresh the page, you should see the emergency lane as below. So now drag and drop module 2 work item to emergency lane in the same column in done section. Drag and drop module 3 work items to emergency lane in the same column in doing section. And as an optional assignment, you may experiment more with boards and customization and share in our groups what you experimented with. So let us go back to presentation and continue with the rest of the two topics. The next topic is customizing team process models. Whenever you create a team project, you select the process model which contains the building blocks you want for your project. Azure Boards supports two process model types. The first, the core system process models such as Scrum, Agile, and CMMI. These are read-only and cannot be customized. The second type, inherited processes, you create based on core system process models with the option of customizing their settings. Once you create an inherited process, you can customize it, create team projects based on it, and migrate existing team projects to reference it. All process models are shared within the same organization. So when changes are made to the process model, they are automatically updated across all team projects that reference that process. So let us head to lab 1E, customizing process models. Let us quickly go through the lab document. In this part E, we will learn about inheriting default process models and customizing them for our specific needs. So what are the default process models? Basic, Agile, Scrum, and CMMI. Prerequisites, you should have completed all the previous labs, including lab 1D. Go to dev.azure.com for your organization, and in the left bottom corner, click organization settings. And in the organization settings sidebar menu, in the board section, click on process. And on the process pane, to the right of Agile entry, select the ellipsis. You'll get it when you hover over. In the drop-down menu, select create inherited process. The create inherited process from Agile panel, in the process name, type customize Agile and click create process. We should now see a new process in the all process pane. If new process is not yet visible, please refresh the page. On the all process pane, click the customize Agile entry. And when you go inside, select user story. And once you select user story, on the user story pane, click new field. On the add a field to user story item panel, on the definition tab, in the create a field section, in the name text box, type CloudRig's ticket ID. Do not click add field. The add a field to user story item panel itself, on the layout tab, in the label text box, type ticket ID, select create a new group. In the group text box, type CloudRix ID group, and then finally click add field. You will now see the new field and the field in the user story pane. On all process pane, select Agile entry. In the Agile pane, select the projects tab, and in the list of projects, the row containing TS Tailwind Traders demo entry, select the ellipsis symbol and then click on change process. In the change process pane, under select a target process, select customize Agile and click on save. Click the Azure DevOps logo on top left corner to return to the account root page. On the projects tab, select the entry representing Tailwind Traders demo. In the left sidebar, select boards and ensure the work items pane is displayed. The list of work items, click the first user story, verify that you now have the ticket ID field in the TSID group, which was defined during the process customization. You can treat this like any other text field. So once the work item is saved, Azure DevOps will also save the new custom information so that it will be available for queries and through the rest of the Azure DevOps. Let us get back to our last topic. Next topic is creating and customizing dashboards. With dashboards, teams can create customized views to gain visibility into their status, view progress, and analyze trends. Dashboards provide flexibility to share information and improve workflow processes. Each team can tailor their dashboards to share information and monitor their progress. Popular charts in Azure boards, burn down versus burn up charts. Burn down charts. A burn down chart is a graphical representation of work left to do versus time. It is useful for predicting when all the work will be completed. Burn up charts. A burn up chart is a graphical representation of total work, the scope, and the work completed. We can clearly see the scope increase and the actual progress by the team, unlike burn down chart, which doesn't generally show the scope. Popular charts in Azure boards. Continuing, sprint overview, visual overview of current sprint progress, sprint capacity, visual overview of whether team is under or over capacity. Sprint burn down chart for a single iteration, velocity, team's velocity, what your team delivered as compared to plan. Let us quickly go through our last lab, lab 1F. In this part of the lab, part F, we will work with dashboards. As per prerequisites, you should have completed all previous labs until lab 1E. Go to dev.azure.com, select our organization, go inside our project TS Tailwind Traders demo. The left sidebar, select overview, and in the list of overview items, select dashboards. Click on new dashboard and fill in the details as below and click create. You should see a screen similar to below. Click on add widget. You should see add widget panel similar to below. We can see a lot of widgets here. We can also see a done editing button, which we will click in the end. You can just explore the existing widgets. Assign to me allows team members to quickly view and manage work items assigned to them. Build health details shows the detailed status of a specified build definition. Build health overview shows the status of builds in our team. Build history shows the build history of a selected build pipeline. Burn down displays burn down across multiple teams and multiple sprints. Create a release burn down or bug burn down. Burn up displays burn up across multiple teams and multiple sprints. Create a release burn up or a bug burn up. chart for test plans, create charts for test case authoring and test case execution status for test plans and test suits, chart for work items, visualize work items like bugs, user stories, and features using shared work item queries. You can also see a lot of other widgets if we scroll down, like a code tile, displays the number of recent changes in a code repository, cumulative flow diagram, CFD, visualize the flow of work and identify bottlenecks in the software development process, cycle time, visualize and analyze your team's cycle time using a control chart, deployment status, shows the deployment and test status of branch across stages in your release pipelines, embedded web page, embed an external web page on your dashboard within an iframe, lead time, visualize and analyze your team's lead time using a control chart, markdown, enables custom text, links, images, and more using markdown syntax, new work item, enables a quick creation of new work items directly from the dashboard, other links, adds a quick link to a feedback client. Admins can configure iterations and work areas. Pull request, check on the status of your pull request. Query results, displays results from a query. Query title, displays the total number of results for a query. Release health details, shows the detailed status of a specified release definition. Release health overview, shows the status of releases in your team project. Release pipeline overview, shows the status of stages in a release pipeline. Requirements quality, shows the quality of requirements associated to automated tests. Sprint burn down, displays a burn down chart for work of a team in a single iteration. Sprint burn down a legacy version of the sprint burn down widget. Use this version if you don't have access to analytics. Sprint capacity displays a visual overview of the current sprint capacity and highlights if the team is under overcapacity. Sprint overview displays a visual overview of the current sprint progress. Team members displays the number of team members and enable quick add or remove team members from the dashboard. Test results trend displays a trend of test results for a build or release pipeline with metrics such as pass rate, test duration, and count. There are two. One is normal, one is advanced. Velocity displays your team velocity, shows what your team delivered as compared to a plan. Visual Studio shortcuts adds the quick links to open, in, or download Visual Studio. Welcome provides the quick links to different parts of the product and reference documentation. Work links adds the quick shortcuts to different parts of the product to manage your work. SAML build history shows the build history of selected build pipeline. Finally, you should also see a link to extension gallery where you can add more widgets from Marketplace. On the add widget panel, in the search text box, type sprint to find the existing widgets that focus on sprints. The list of results, select sprint overview and click add. The rectangle representing the newly added widget, click the settings cogwheel icon and review the configuration pane. On the configuration pane, click close without making any changes. Similarly, add sprint capacity widget to dashboard. In the dashboard view, at the top of the pane, click done editing. Our new dashboard should look similar to below. We can generate charts based on work item queries and then we can add it in a dashboard following the below steps. In the left sidebar, select boards icon and the list of boards items, select queries. On the My Queries pane, click plus new query. In the My Queries pane, do the following. In the value drop-down list of the work item type row, select task. In the second row, in the field column, select area path and in the value, select Tailwind Raiders demo /Cloudrix. Click on Save Query. In the new query panel, in the name, type Cloudrix task. In the folder, select Shared Queries and click OK. Select the Charts tab and click plus new chart. On the Configure Chart panel, do below. The name text box, type Cloudrix task by assignment. In the Group by drop-down list, select Assign to and click OK to save the changes. You can now add our new chart to our dashboard by clicking on the ellipse next to the chart name and clicking plus add to dashboard. In the select dashboard pane, select dashboard we created in previous section and click OK. Go to the dashboards pane and verify that the new chart is added to our dashboard. So that's it. And as an assignment, explore other tabs in the configure chart panel and prepare different types of charts that are possible. You may discuss with other students or community members to come up with interesting scenarios for each chart. So this was a pretty big lab with 6 parts. I hope you have understood things, and I believe you will understand everything only after you do these things. This is just the tip of the iceberg. So after doing this lab, your next task is to actually work on a real project. If you don't have a real project, at least create a real world kind of pet project along with students or community members. If you are a part of a course such as a Forum CA from Trains or Cloudrix, you may ask your course coordinator to allow you to work or see how the Trainso team or Trainso interns are making use of Azure bots. Get your hands dirty and let us all learn together and grow together. But before doing anything else, make sure you have completed all the 6 parts of this lab. And before we wind up, one more thing, you should always refer to the latest document and then do the lab. You can get the latest document either from hutton.cc or you may ask in your respective community groups or spaces, Facebook group or in our WhatsApp groups or in your community.cloudrix.com post space or chat space. Once again, bye bye for now and see you all in next session.